The Train Ride by She-Ripper. Read by Mika. Chapter 1. A man sat in a train compartment, opposite Harry. Harry didn't bother looking up. He looked through the window down at the platform, where it's bustling with people. 3 kids rushed around, owls in cages, one wearing a middle-aged woman's feathered hat, clearly a pureblood. Harry chuckled as the 3 young wizards ran straight into a wall and vanished from sight. He didn't even remember today was September the 1st. The nostalgia hit him without warning at all, the witches and wizards trying to be conspicuous. Then the man across from him spoke in such a familiar drawl that Harry's head snapped up. "Well, Potter, I can't say I'm surprised you had to repeat Hogwarts for another year." Draco Malfoy smirked, glancing at Harry's heavy luggage at his feet. "What?" "I mean, being the savior shouldn't excuse your utter lack of cognitive capabilities while at school. Though I do think it's all for naught. Without Granger this year, you have no hope to pass." Harry was so taken aback, he snorted at the familiarity that is Malfoy. Well, it already started as a morning for nostalgia. Malfoy's eyes crinkled at Harry's amusement. "This train doesn't reach Scotland, Malfoy. If you don't know that, then maybe you're on the wrong train," Harry couldn't help but add. "And I passed our 8th year on my own hard work, not Hermione's, thank you very much." Indignant, although privately he admitted she helped. A lot. Merlin bless Hermione. Malfoy shrugged, as though to say the feat wasn't that impressive. "So did everyone else. What? You want a medal or something, Potter?" Harry took a deep breath. It was impossible, but Malfoy had stayed exactly the same. Well, perhaps he'd matured a little. The usual bite indicating Harry was meant to be offended was gone. "You know, a medal might be nice. My first order of Merlin needs something to keep it company on the shelf." Harry couldn't help but laugh at Malfoy's expression. He knew how to get to him just as well as Malfoy knew how to get a rise out of Harry. "Good to see your ego is at its usual maximum size," Malfoy said dryly, glancing out the window. "It's not the only thing about me that's maximum size," Harry said blatantly, winking. Malfoy huffed an unexpected laugh. "Gryffindors are so crude." "You're really lecturing me about crudeness. I read the newspaper, you know." Malfoy just shrugged, his expression saying, "It is what it is." People in the wizarding world enjoy the classic tale of an ex-Death Eater from a pure-blood family who came out as gay. I doubt they'll stop mentioning me and what I do in my free evenings anytime soon. "Is that really a classic tale in the wizarding world?" Harry asked, wondering if this was a weird sort of thing he wouldn't know about the wizarding world, even after years of living in it. Malfoy tilted his head slightly to the side, considering him. It's not uncommon to have characters who have sinned in their past come out in the wizarding literature over their history. In fact, that's usually the sort of character that represents homosexuality. That's really weird. Harry frowned. Malfoy smiled condescendingly, like Harry was a small child. It's brilliant. No one completely good ever comes out, which tells readers that being gay means that this person has done something dodgy in their past and should not be trusted. It's homophobic without being homophobic. Harry sighed. Of course it is. I bet a Slytherin came up with that. Really? Malfoy seemed to think about it. My galleon is on a Ravenclaw, actually. They shared the silence while the train moved forward, gently. Seriously, you do know this train doesn't reach Scotland, don't you? Fuck off, Potter. Harry laughed, and suddenly realized he was enjoying himself. After the seriousness and drama of the past week, a harmless little banter with Draco Malfoy was quite refreshing. In fact, without the fierce hate and anger that usually transferred between them, it was almost light and playful. Alright, I'm curious. Why Muggle transportation? I could ask the same of you, Potter, Malfoy said, without blinking, calmly. He was going through one of the pages of a Muggle newspaper, tossed on one of the empty seats with a mildly interested expression. Yes, but I'm not... Harry, mercifully not 15 years old anymore, knew when he was heading towards a wrong comment, and stopped himself. From what he's heard, Malfoy has truly turned his ways, and has been leading a perfect civilian life, though rather explicit if to believe the prophet. What? You're not an ex-Death Eater, a Slytherin, a Malfoy? It's okay to say that. They're all true, he replied nonchalantly, turning the page of the Muggle newspaper. Harry glanced at him. Yeah, no. That was uncalled for on my part. Forget it. Malfoy actually looked up at him in surprise. I was actually going to say I'm not a pureblood, so it's not so weird that I'm familiar with Muggle transportation, Harry explained, hoping to fix whatever he might have ruined with his conversation partner accidentally. Well, I was a wizard without a wand for an uncomfortable duration of time in my past, which is why it's not so weird that I'd be familiar with Muggle transportation either, Malfoy shrugged. It's not unpleasant, unlike our night bus, but is dreadfully slow. Still, once in a while it's refreshing, not to be recognized. Malfoy folded the newspaper closed, and tossed it back onto the seat he picked it up from. Bunch of Brexit drama, and the crosswords all filled out, he huffed. Harry chuckled. I mean, if you ask me, Voldemort was barking... He saw Malfoy's eyes widen with alertness, and the tension of his body suddenly grow. But despite that, Malfoy did not make a sound upon hearing Tom Riddle's name. Harry felt himself grin as he finished his thought. Up the wrong tree. Trying to get through Dumbledore all these years to get rid of me. He should have just gotten into Muggle politics and had this Brexit business up sooner, and tried to get all the immigrants deported. Malfoy rolled his eyes royally, unimpressed. You're not an immigrant. The Potters have been in Britain for centuries. Harry laughed. Come on, Malfoy. My dad was fully Indian, as you can see. British First is going to take one look at me and go, close enough. He's gone with the rest of them. Harry waved his arm up and down, obviously, gesturing towards his light brown skin. Ah, Muggles are ignorant, Malfoy drawled. Harry sighed, not even knowing how to respond. Oh, I know. I'm not supposed to say that anymore. It could get me in trouble. No, I just thought it was a bit ironic to you to say that about Britain first, is all, Harry said amusingly. I evolved from that sort of thinking, Potter. I have seen the error of my ways a long time ago. I run a peace-loving life now, and can barely recall what you're talking about, Malfoy said, slyly, looking repentant. Harry remained unimpressed. Does that really work on reporters? Reporters, no. Sexy young wizards who love to hear the story of an older man who turned his life around despite all the odds being against him, yes, Malfoy said straight-faced, unabashed. Harry wondered for a brief moment about his rushing indignation. Of course Malfoy would find a way to spin his war criminal past in his favor. Harry thought about the weekly parade of Malfoy's dates, their pictures snapped and published on the Prophet weekend, all younger and incredibly handsome. Harry leaned back in his seat and huffed, trying to not let it piss him off. How nice. Malfoy grinned in a way that almost made Harry wonder if he was completely transparent to the Slytherin. Well, they all seemed to think so. It certainly received their recommendations. Malfoy's innuendo was said with such a lewd voice it left no doubt as to what he was talking about. Harry couldn't help his awkward laugh at Malfoy's dirty joke. Wow. Hey, that's actually kind of sketchy, especially since they're not here to verify anything. Malfoy arched an eyebrow. So you're calling me a liar? You have no reason to doubt me. I was warned about this in the papers. This is blatant discrimination against Slytherins, he accused. Don't even try that one on me, Malfoy, Harry warned. My initial reason for doubting you in the first place was because you wanted to be a Slytherin when we first met. Malfoy waved his hand in a gesture to emphasize his point. See? Blatant. Harry rolled his eyes. Oh, whatever. Your house goal is to be good at cunning. And you specifically. In all the years I've known you, I think I've seen you lie more than I've seen you breathe. Breathing is overrated, Malfoy dismissed, not bothering to deny his past actions at all. Harry appreciated the honesty. So what's with the suitcase, Potter? Wouldn't you like to know? Harry smirked, pleased when he saw Malfoy's expression. With anyone else, he'd simply answer. But with Slytherins, they really do want to know, and denying them frustrates them immensely. So Harry doesn't give them the information they want on purpose, and instead comments on the fact that they wanted to know so much they outright asked, telling them they cared about the answer. For some reason, it embarrasses Slytherins. As an adult, Harry had to learn to deal with many Slytherins on a daily basis. Much more than in school, because almost half of all reporters are Slytherins, and a third of all the lawyers are as well. Still, a big part of Harry's pleasure came from the fact that he now knew that Malfoy actually would like to know about Harry's private life, for some reason. Malfoy got a cold glint in his grey eyes. I don't care either way, he said. And Harry could just tell that he was lying. Of course not. Why would you? Harry said, unable to hide his grin. He could swear Malfoy's eyebrows started twitching. Malfoy deflected the subject. Re-elections are coming up soon. Granger planning to run for a second term? Weasley Granger, Harry corrected. This wasn't new information to Malfoy, who Harry assumed simply didn't feel like acknowledging it in any way. His suspicions were confirmed when Malfoy didn't even blink, and said, "Even for a Muggle-born, she married down." At Harry's expression, Malfoy sighed. "I'm not speaking ill of your Weasleys, Potter, or about your wife. I'm saying my honest opinion about a stupid-faced Gryffindor I knew from school." Harry, conflicted and awkward, half shrugged. Ron back at school was truthfully a bit difficult to support at certain times. "He's changed. Grew up." "We all did," Harry said meaningfully, keeping loyal to his best friend and gesturing at the ex-Death Eater sitting across from him on the train. "I hate the comparison, Potter, but I suppose I have no room to judge others in that respect. So, is she running again?" "No comment," Harry said instinctively. Malfoy blinked at him, and then they both grinned. "Been hanging around reporters too much, Potter?" "Probably not as much as you, Malfoy." They both sighed at the sad truthfulness of that, sympathizing with each other. For a while, they sat together in silence, looking out the window as the train rocked forward gently. Harry didn't know what made him do it, but he heard himself eventually blurting out, "Ex-wife." Malfoy turned away from the window and looked in Harry's direction. "Ex-wife." Harry kicked the giant suitcase at his feet. "It's my stuff. I moved out today." Malfoy stared at him, and Harry wondered if he gave him more than he asked for. After all, an old-school bully, newly turned acquaintance probably wouldn't care to hear about something so personal. But after everything that happened, he couldn't walk around it anymore, pretending he was still married to Ginny. Now that the divorce is official and he's moved out, the media will hear about it sooner or later, and they have no reason to hide it anymore. "Oh. I'm sorry," Malfoy said carefully, and Harry could almost taste his discomfort. "Yeah," Harry said numbly, looking out the window. He hated pity, and if he saw it on Malfoy's face, he knew he'd get mad. "What happened?" "Grew apart," Harry said, still looking out the window emotionlessly. "It started out once a day, and then every day that we took one another for granted. I guess we dropped the ball a long time ago. It happens sometimes, when you're married for a long time. You just grew apart." Malfoy's voice sounded taken aback. "We did. Then she fell for someone else, and we agreed it wasn't working anymore." "I see." Harry sighed. He's probably made Malfoy very uncomfortable by now. He turned to look at him, and Malfoy did look like he didn't know what to say. On some spiritual level, Harry felt proud of himself for managing to get a Slytherin to lose their ability to talk. "Didn't mean to drop that on you, mate." "Don't go worrying about others today, Potter." Malfoy glared at him. "Seriously, who could she have found that's better than the bloody savior?" Harry, surprised and usually uncomfortable with compliments, felt himself growing warmer. And he dropped his gaze, hoping Malfoy wouldn't notice. "I suppose," he mumbled evasively. "So, who's the man that's brave enough to have an affair with Harry Potter's wife?" Malfoy demanded, incredulous. "The man is Luna Lovegood." Malfoy stared at him for a long time in silence. "Oh, that actually sounds like it fits well." Malfoy quickly stopped when he noticed Harry's expression at his comment. "I mean, that's horrible that it happened to you, Potter." Harry sighed, closing his eyes. Malfoy coughed awkwardly. "Did you have any idea she might be rooting for the other team?" "What? Oh, of course I knew. We're both bi." Harry rubbed his tired eyes, taking off his glasses. "It used to be romantic, that we both chose each other, out of all the people we knew." Harry pinched the bridge of his nose and put his glasses back on. For some reason, Malfoy looked like it was hard work, keeping up with his trademark composed expression. Harry wondered if this was too close a conversation for them too quickly. He smiled apologetically. "It's okay. Don't worry about it. Let's change the subject, yeah? I'm sort of exhausted with it." Malfoy stood up abruptly, his eyes in a sort of frenzy. "Lou, I'll be right back," he said distantly, and marched away. "Oh, sure," Harry called after him, but he was already too far away to hear. Harry blinked after him. "Must have been urgent," he muttered to himself. Harry watched the landscape as the train rocked softly, moving ever forward. He thought about 3 months ago, when Ginny told him they weren't working out. About 2 months ago, when they started involving lawyers. 1 month ago when he signed the final divorce papers, and then, as they told their close friends and family. Then last night, when it got processed and approved, and they were officially no longer husband and wife. Suddenly, Malfoy came back and sat in his seat again, and Harry wondered just how long he's been drowning in his own thoughts. He shook himself mentally. "So, why are you traveling out of London?" Harry asked, hoping to segue the conversation. Malfoy acted strangely, taking in a quiet moment to look at Harry square in the eyes, until Harry found himself uncomfortable. Then he said simply, "Can I ask you something?" Malfoy said, in a tone that was meant to be casual, but Harry got the sense it really mattered to him. Yeah," he answered, wondering what it could be about. "If things have been pretty much over for a while now, why are you still wearing a ring?" Harry looked down at the golden wedding ring. He hadn't taken it off since he vowed to never let go of Ginny's hand. At the time, he had no intention to. Last month, he did just that when he signed the divorce papers. We didn't want the press to interfere, so we kept wearing them. Guess it doesn't matter anymore. Harry gritted his teeth as the reality of the situation hit him, and he took off the ring he's been wearing for almost 7 years off his finger and shoved it into his pocket bitterly. What is he even supposed to do with it now? Sell it? Keep it? Do people keep their wedding rings after they divorce? Do they throw them into the sea, like they do in the movies? The ring bore a hole into his pocket, Harry was all too aware of. I didn't mean to upset you, Potter. No, it's fine, Harry lied, trying to ignore the ring. I've quit my job. Harry stared at Malfoy. Why? I've heard you've been doing a great job. Malfoy grinned, looking slightly pleased. Naturally, Potter. But there's nothing else to do from my position anymore, and the roads to going up in the ranks are blocked to someone with a criminal record as impressive as mine, I'm afraid. Harry looked at Malfoy, trying to see beyond the mask. His own frustration at being unable to surprised him. Sorry to hear so, Malfoy. Cause and effect, Potter, are a very real thing. He gestured to a small bump in his coat pocket. I too am moving today, and these are my things. What will you do now? Harry asked, suddenly experiencing a sense of kinship with Malfoy. Something, that's for sure. I've had a lot of things I've wanted to do over the years, and I've never had the time. Perhaps now is that time. When he looked up, Malfoy's eyes quickly turned to the window. But not quickly enough. He was looking at Harry's hands. Slytherins are observant, Harry's brain reminded him, in a voice that tended to come in handy when he's on aura missions. And Malfoy's are even more so. I have to go now to the loo as well. Save my seat, will you? Harry called, getting up. Malfoy nodded once, barely glancing at him. As he got ready to leave, Harry thought of something, and didn't want to forget. He said, Oh, I guess since you'll be living in the same area as me, it would be awkward not to meet up sometimes to catch up. We should do that, he called, and hurried off. Ever since Malfoy had mentioned the loo, the need to go had grown. Is peeing like yawning? When you see someone else do it, you have to as well. Harry will have to ask Hermione about it later. Once Harry washed his hands in the sink and dried them, he came out of the stall, and a small child was staring at him, open-mouthed. Harry hurried to check his zipper. He sighed. It was closed. He shot the kid's parents a look, but they were busy talking, and weren't noticing their child was making weird faces at the people who went to the toilet. A lady passed him, and walked into the loo he just vacated, and she too stopped, when she noticed the little girl was giving her a strange look. Harry rubbed the back of his head, thanking Merlin Teddy was always so well behaved. Well, except for recently, as he was going through puberty, acting out. He walked back to his compartment and sat down. Well, I faced so many enemies, yet somehow a little girl just managed to freak me out. Malfoy seemed to blink himself out of some sort of mood. Oh, the strange child across the loo. Yes, she made farting noises as I walked by. I quite like her. Sure. Totally normal, Malfoy. Potter, a child like that will live up to find various nefarious ways to disobey their parents and teachers in life. She's perfect. Malfoy grinned. Harry chuckled. Hermione's running for second election, by the way. You're not scared I'll run to the press about this? Malfoy raised a brow inquisitively. When it comes to you and the press, Malfoy, I'm very sure you'll always be running away from them, never towards them. Malfoy grimaced. That's for sure. Pests. He leaned back in his seat, his expression clearing. I'll share news too. I heard from Comic McLaggen he's going to run in the elections. Harry was thoroughly indignant. McLaggen from school? He's been handling the Department of International Magical Cooperation for 6 weeks, and already half of the countries won't speak to us anymore. Yes, the one and only. They've been moving him from department to department because of all the damage he causes. Malfoy drawled with distaste. He should get fired, Harry said, determined to make it happen if he can. He's a McLaggen. They're not going to fire him, Potter. Although, I heard Granger has been giving it a good healthy try. I'm rather relieved to hear she's running again. I don't think we'd survive under that arrogant toad. So he announced it officially. Do you have any idea how much support that blown-up idiot has? Harry asked, defensive for his friend. There's no way he'd let Hermione lose this fight. Hasn't announced it yet. It's too early anyways. I think some of his old uncle's friends would probably back him up. A good sum of money amongst all of them, but not much in popularity, Malfoy said, easily, not concerned. Granger is a fan favorite. The people will choose her as long as she's running. Did he ask you to donate money to his campaign? Harry guessed. Malfoy, whilst his past is too dodgy to allow him a high position of power within the Ministry in this lifetime, is a big donor in the game when he decides to intervene. Surprisingly, he rarely does, except in charity events or launches of new departments. Over time, it was made clear he isn't trying to influence the power in the wizarding world, and that has put a lot of people weary of him at rest over the years. No, he didn't even try. He's not that slow. Then why would he tell you? What can I say? I'm vain, and he's not terrible looking. Malfoy shrugged slightly. Ew. Malfoy seemed amused. Ew. It's in my head now. I can't unsee this, Malfoy, Harry complained, frowning at the images. Harry could admit McLaggen was handsome. Has been since he met him at Slughorn's compartment at school. But he's such a kid. Not much in his brain to pick at, however. I got bored rather fast, Malfoy confessed, unknowingly agreeing with what Harry was thinking. Our conversation so far has been more interesting than all the ones I've had with him. Harry felt himself grow more aware. Though Malfoy spoke normally, Harry wondered if he was picking a signal that was there, or maybe wasn't. So I'm interesting, am I? A bit. You're not dull, I'll give you that much. Harry grinned, feeling as light as a feather. Thanks. And what else will you give me? Harry winked, feeling a good nervousness he hasn't felt in years. Malfoy smiled calmly, getting up. A voice broke over the train, calling, "Arriving at the platform. Passengers, please make sure not to leave behind any—" I'm not looking to be anyone's rebound, Potter. Malfoy spoke clearly, getting out of the compartment. Instead, let's meet up to catch up, like you suggested before, and go ahead and call that a date. Harry felt his heart skip a beat. Did Draco Malfoy just ask him out on a date? On a Muggle train? And why is his brain fixated on the last part so much? You can say no, if you're not into that, Potter. No, I mean, no to not being into that. Get it together, fool. It's a date, Malfoy. Malfoy grinned. I'll allow you soon, once I get settled, if that's alright. Oh, yeah. I probably need to do that as well, Harry realized. Try to hurry. I won't wait forever, Malfoy said gently, glancing at the pocket where Harry placed his wedding ring. It's a date, Potter, were his parting words before he left, mingling with the sea of people getting off the train. Harry James Potter, you have your first date in years. Well, this ticket to the train ride was well spent. Hey, it's Mika. I don't usually do this, but I wanted to include the author's note of this fic because it's kind of amazing, and mostly, 50% of the reason I wanted to read this fic. Here we go. That day, Draco Malfoy experienced 2 existential crises that put his poker face skills to the test, which he amazingly soldiered through. Draco Malfoy Existential Crisis 1. When Malfoy's at the loo. So you're telling me that you're interested in men and you're single? Is that what you're telling me? Are you for real? Why don't you just burst into a musical and ask me to the Yule Ball too, since we're playing out every school fantasy I've ever had for Merlin's sake? Draco Malfoy Existential Crisis 2. When Harry's at the loo. Living in the same area? We'll be living in the same area? Meet up sometime to catch up? Is this a chance with Harry Potter offered to me by the gods or something? How is this allowed to happen so perfectly? What's the catch, universe? I know there's always a catch. Reveal yourself to me.